Continue now. I'm gonna go for another maybe 2 hours max, then I really should go to bed. So what we're gonna do, I had a really cool idea. So these letters, as they're coming in, they're going to animate. So we're gonna have a timeline going from left to right, and then from left to right, they're going to be dropping hearts based on how many likes they got, so or how many thumbs down basically, and those hearts are gonna drop down here into some sort of, I don't know what yet, but we'll see what comes up. And we're gonna start with making this. Oh, and then I wanted to also add sound with a React sound library, which I think is something that exists, so we'll see how that goes. It's going to be a little bit different than what I decided what I wanted to do at first, but I think it's going to be an interesting data visualization and something that we can finish today. So let's start by making these broadcasts show up and drop hearts. So first, when they show up, let's also make sure that width and height are rendered. Actually, we can do it this way. So width and height are getting rendered, and then we need to make this into an animation. So we're going to say const, we're gonna start with n, and set n is going to be use state that starts with 0. So we have a state. Then after all of this gets done, we're going to need a use effect that will run once broadcast length and stuff is ready. So we gotta set up our use effect hook before the if statement, because otherwise React is going to throw a fit. So we're going to have a use effect that runs like this and is based on broadcasts.length and responses.length, like that. And we're gonna say use effect, and then if broadcasts.length is more than 1 and responses.length is also more than 1, we're going to console log it first just to make sure that it's working. And we say console log start animation, right? Let's see, start animation, perfect, that worked, which means we can actually, let's make this into our own little use data set. So we can do it in use data set. Actually, we don't need to do it elsewhere. So we're gonna do it in the data set itself. So use data set. Now let's do use animation here. Let's make a use timer, use reveal. Let's call it use reveal. So we're going to say const n equals use reveal animation, and we're going to pass in broadcasts and responses, like that. Actually, let's make that into a object so that it's a little easier to keep track. Then here we say function use reveal animation broadcasts responses, and we do the stuff we just pasted, but we didn't save it, so we can say const n and set n equals use state that starts with 0. Then we have a use effect that runs a method based on broadcasts.length and responses.length, like that, and it returns the n. Cool. So that's the reveal animation. For what else do we need for the reveal animation? We need to know when everything is loaded. So if broadcasts.length is more than 1 and responses.length is more than 1, then we're going to start a timer. Or should we start a transition? We could use a transition for this, couldn't we? Totally can. So we're gonna do it this way. d3.select is going to select nothing. Let me check, how do I do this? Swizzets, state transition React. So using a transition will make it a little easier to run this stuff. So driving React state with D3 transitions. Let's see, how did I do it here? Pa-pa-da-pam. Okay, loading the sandbox, because it's always easier if you can use code that you've written before, right? So I'm gonna go into drill down py. I think that's the one I wanted. Arc path, here we go. Use reducer, const py function drill down, use effect. Okay, so we're gonna have a D3 selection. Then we're going to start a transition dot transition called, what are we gonna call this? Let's call it data reveal, and we're going to use a duration of, how many seconds should this take? Let's take the duration from that. So we're gonna say duration is duration times 1000, because we need to use milliseconds. So 1000, and then we run a tween that is called our %visible and visible, and we're going to run that with const interpolate is going to be d3.interpolate from 0 to broadcasts.length, come on, broadcasts.length, like that. And then what did I do? Then we're going to return t, come on. Why is my computer always so slow? This is annoying. Okay, loading sandbox. Let me see. How do I do this? So this is, why would you memorize all of the different techniques if you can save them somewhere and then look them up later? Let's see. By the way, if anyone is actually on the chat, can you tell me if my stream seems laggy today? Because I've had some people complain that it is invisible. So we're returning a function that calls set n of interpolate of t. So that's going to drive our transition to make more and more of these guys visible, like that. So we have the tween. React hook use effect has a missing dependency duration. I'm okay with that. That doesn't bother me, but we need to pass duration here where we are using the animation. We're going to say duration, let's set it to 10 seconds. Yeah, let's start with 10 seconds. That makes sense. Duration 10 seconds. And then here in the broadcast thingy, we're going to slice from 0 to n. Right? Yep. So let's see now if this is going to animate. It's going from the back. That's weird. So it's working, but it's going backwards. Why is it going backwards? Let's see, how does slice work? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 dot slice 0 to 3, 0 to 3, 1 to 3. Maybe we need to wait, x scale domain d3 extend broadcasts 30 to width minus 30. What? Okay, let's console log the n because I am very confused right now. So okay, that should be working. But let's round the n. So math round n set n to math.round of the interpolation function. Let's try that again. So 0, 1. I'm still confused why they're going in reverse order. So what other thing we can try is console logging the broadcast of n. Broadcasts n, no, broadcast, yeah, of n dot created at, if it exists, because we don't want it to break. Let's see. So July 26th. So they are sorted in reverse order. That's silly. Okay, let's change the sorting order. So here where we are running sort, we need to say A minus B. And now they're gonna go from left to right, which I think makes more sense. Perfect. So these are my emails going out. Cool. So the emails going out, now we need to add an animation that will... What is the animation going to do? So we've got them showing up. Now I'm going to use a... I want to make them like show up and then get smaller. Will that make sense? Actually, no, that won't make sense. So the next step I want to do is, so that's showing up there. I want the last one to also have a title above it, or a timestamp. Yeah, let's make a timestamp. Excuse me. So we're gonna have, actually, yeah, the last one. How do we tell it if it's the last one? We're gonna say if I is the same as n. Will that work? It should work. So let's see. Data d is last equals if the current index is the same as n. So I equals n. So that's how we're gonna know if it's the last. Now in the broadcast itself, we're going to take is last, and we're gonna render if it is last. If is last, then we show data.created at. Otherwise we don't show anything. So now we should see no. Is any of them last? So React mode or React, let's look at one of them, and we say they don't even have that yet. Okay, let's reload the page again. Maybe something went wrong when reloading. Why don't they have an is last? Is last is false. What if we say is... Seriously? Everything's gonna die on me? Uncaught invariant blah. So what if we say is last is always true? So is last is true. What? Objects are not valid as a React child. Oh, right. Because date created at must be turned into a string. So we're gonna say, we're gonna take the same date thing as here. So import asterisk as d3, and we're gonna take the date time format from d3, and we're gonna say date of data created at. And now they should all have a string next to them. There we go. Cool. Okay, so that's showing up. Now if we say that only the last one does that, let's try that again. So we take the index, and if the index is the same as n, that means that you are currently the last email that's being shown, but that doesn't quite work. Because if it's the same as n minus 1, that should make it work. There we go. Right, that kind of works. Not at all. Okay. So what else can we do? Let's move it from there to showing like this. Perp. And then if it is currently the last one, it's going to show the timestamp right next to it. So if it is last, we're going to show text where this is going to be date of data.created at, like that. Otherwise it's going to be null. Let's see. So now they should be a little less weird. No, come on. Oh, because the text isn't showing up. Okay. So what if we... Let's show the text up there. That's gonna make more sense. So here we're going to be showing the latest broadcast. So like that. So we're gonna have that up here all the way above. It's going to say text, which is going to be at x equals width divided by 2, and the vertical axis is going to be, let's say, 50 pixels down. And then it's going to say, let's take this date, where is it? Date format. Here we're gonna make that a global function, date format, d3 time format, and here where it says date, it's gonna be date format. Okay, now where was I? This is going to say date format of broadcasts of n minus 1 if broadcasts of n minus 1 exists. So if broadcasts of n minus 1 exists, then we do that. Otherwise we do nothing, like that. Let's see, date format broadcasts n minus 1 dot created at (1/30). Okay, wonderful, cool. So those are the emails, and now we want to, what else can we do with this? We can make this text a little bigger. So we're gonna say this is going to be a styled text. Come on, be a styled text. And we're gonna say const heading. Let's call it a heading because that's gonna make more sense. Heading equals style.text, where font minus size is 1.5 em. Let's do 1.5 em, and font weight is bold. Let's see if that works. Come on. For the x attribute, if this is expected, cast the value of a string. Okay, and we say text anchor is center, or is it middle? Middle text anchor. And why is it getting here? Okay, so that's working now. Is it actually working? Yeah, I think it's working. So we've got that. Now we need to make it so that what else do we need to do? I said we wanted them to drop down little hearts, right? So each of the broadcasts is going to have its own animation inside that is going to drop hearts to the bottom of the page. So let's see. How can we make that work? So I want them to drop down and then, or should they fly up? Let's make them drop down. So if they drop down, each heart should be, they should like make the animation pop. So I'm trying to think what would make this look nice. I'm getting the idea of a heart dropping down, and then when it lands, it like the bottom heart kind of gets bigger, and then the size of the hearts tells us how many hearts there were. That could make sense. Yeah, let's do that. Okay, so we've got the data. Now we need to pass in the responses as well. So that's data for a particular broadcast. So let's say broadcast data is the, actually let's just call it data. And then here where we have responses with broadcast IDs, we are setting the responses as well. So we get broadcasts and responses. So for our data, we can get the data itself, and we can split that out, and we can also find the responses. So we're also gonna say responses are responses find where r dot broadcast ID equals d dot ID, I think, like that. Okay, now let's see if broadcasts are getting their responses with them. So broadcasts, let's console log the data, console log data, and we shall see what the data says. So we're getting data with each of the broadcasts, perfect. So we have ID and they get responses, yes. Some of them have, wait, why is there undefined responses? Responses, broadcast ID undefined. So we're always finding the responses with response ID, landing ID. There. Okay. Let's try console logging the responses at the very top. So let's not console log this right now. Now at the very top here, we're gonna console log the responses. Console log responses. And why do they have an empty? Actually, no, not console log them here because that's gonna be on every render. Instead, let's console log them here. Console log responses. Come on, show them to me. So we've got responses, form, broadcast ID. Broadcast ID, is there any broadcast ID that is undefined? Yes. So, okay, some of them we weren't able to associate with, when were these responses made? On February 14th. Did I not have a broadcast on February 14th? Let's see, log in. Oh, maybe the form wasn't created on February 14th. That is possible. So let's look at, instead of the first so we're looking for data ID for form last updated at. No, I did not turn off my computer since last stream, so maybe that was the problem. So I'm trying to figure out how we can deal with these undefineds. Where do I have a form with, let's see, 86 responses? I should be able to find that one. That is a lot of responses. It should be in here somewhere. Is there anything here that says 86 responses? 86? Nope. What about in the emails? Does any of these guys say 86? No. So we can filter out responses that have undefined, where broadcast ID is undefined, huh? We're just not gonna have those, unfortunately. Landed at 19th. What was the 19th of February? Or 19th of January? Let's see. So the 19th of January, did I have a broadcast then? Yeah, the messages are still visible. So post emails, let's see, January 19th, where are you at? Wednesday, January 11th, 16th, 5th, 25th. I did not have a January 19th, did I? Or emails, let's see. 2018, 2019, January 14th or 9th. Yeah, I did not have a 19th. That sucks. Okay, so if there's no broadcast ID, we're just gonna filter it out. So we're gonna say dot filter where d dot broadcast ID equals undefined. Cool. So we're no longer gonna have those, which means here when we find the why is this saying the date format dot ID? It should be d dot ID. God. Okay. That should work better, I think. Wait, why do I now have... Oh, right, it needs to be not undefined. So I'm going to filter out everything that's got undefined, and then in broadcasts I can console log the data, and we should be able to see stuff. Come on, reload the page. So it reloads the page eventually, and we get here our data created at subject, recipient, and responses are undefined. What about for this one? Responses are defined. Cool. So some of them are the data isn't going to be perfect, but it will be good enough for, I hope. Well, I hope it's going to be good enough. So we've got that. And now let's see. So each broadcast is going to be dropping down a list of hearts. So let's see how many hearts do we need. Const hearts is going to be data.responses dot let's console log that. Console log data.responses. I want to see just what kind of data we actually have for the responses. So responses, each of the responses will have answers, and each of those answers will have something that is of type number. Okay, so we say const hearts equals data.responses.map. We're gonna get r.answers, r.answers, then we're going to flatten that. And once that is flattened, we're going to go through. Actually, r.answers, we're gonna filter out only the ones that are type number. Filter answer where answer.type equals a number, right? Then we flatten that and we see what we get. So console log hearts. Can't be, oh, come on, just reload the page. Data.responses.map is not a function. If data, actually, where was it? Was it not data.responses? If data.responses exists, then we do the thing. No? And then okay. Console log data, and let's see what the data says, and let's make sure that responses are always defined. So we're going to say responses find or an empty array, like that, so then we don't have to worry about that. Now let's see, random one here has the responses, which are responses.responses. So we say responses find dot responses or an empty array. So now if I go into the broadcast, now the hearts calculation should work. So I can go here, do that, and console log the hearts, and we shall see what the votes say. Seriously, cannot read property filter of undefined. Only if r.answers are defined, then we do r.answers, otherwise we return an empty array as well. Cool. Wow. What died now? Cannot read responses of undefined. No shit, Sherlock. Why is this so hard? Okay, so we're just gonna do responses.find here, then responses are going to be const responses equals, if data.responses, then we return data.responses.responses or an empty array. Then here we say just responses map, and if it has answers, then we return those answers, otherwise we do not. Okay, cool. Okay, that works. So we've now got lists of all numbers, and we know that 5 means essentially thumbs up, 0 means that somebody didn't like what I said, or the email wasn't enjoyable. So we're gonna say anything above a 3 is a heart, right? So we can say, let's see, let's show a heart ratio, right? So we're gonna have a heart ratio, which we can calculate. Let's just do it like this for now. So we're gonna filter where number n is n dot what was it again? Let's console log the hearts again. Right. Come on. So number. Okay. So we are going to say number where number is more than 3. So we filter those out. Dot filter. Okay. Like that. Now it's gonna work. Come on. And then we say dot length, and we will know how many hearts we need for each of these. 3 might mean indifferent. Yeah, so that's why I'm saying anything that's more than 3 is good enough, right? That's good enough to say that somebody enjoyed it. And honestly, I think that just reading to the bottom and getting to the form is already a pretty high mark of somebody actually enjoying what they're reading, or at least finding it useful-ish. I think it's pretty rare for people to go all the way down to read an entire long email and then just hate it. Okay, so we've got the number of hearts. So ratings more than 3 are a heart, probably. Okay, so we've got that. Now let's see, how can we make them drop down? So we have those hearts. Now we need a way for those hearts to drop down. So we're gonna have a let's create a state. Do we need state? No, we don't need state. What we do need is another animation, reveal animation. So we can drop them down. Let's just see what happens if we just render them dropping down. Let's say 100 pixels down. So what we want, let's start with just drawing one of them that drops down. So we're gonna have actually, I know what we can do. We can have each of them appear and then go down, and we can use a heart for that. Yes. Hey Emilio, what's Argentina like these days? So we're going to render hearts under them. It's going to say, let's put this in a grouping element that is positioned at, let's see, const. Yes, so G is transform equals translate $x $y, like that, and then we take this away. We don't need the fragment anymore, and the x is going to be 0 and y is going to be 0. Let's see. Okay, that still works. And now what we can do is here say d3.range from 0 to hearts. We're going to map each of those as the, let's say, index, and each of those is going to render a heart. And that heart is going to, at the beginning, just show up. So we're going to have a const heart equals a thing that just returns a text where x equals 0, y equals 0, and let's see, text anchor is middle, text anchor equals middle, and dominant baseline equals central, and it's going to render a heart. So we're gonna take this little hearty here, and let's just see if they render and where they show up. So there should be a bunch of them. Cool. Now the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna have an effect that makes them travel down. So let's see. I'm gonna copy the same approach I used here. Here, this one, use reveal animation. I'm gonna just copy this and copy it into use drop animation, which is going to have a duration. We're gonna start use state as 0. We need those things. Use state, use effect, like that. Then we have a use, we don't need the date anymore, and we also don't need any of this stuff, but what we do need is x and set x, no, not x, it's going to be, it's vertical, right? So set y, use state y of 0, and we say we return the index, and we just start the animation here. So data reveal duration times 1000, and we're calling this transition drop animation. have you seen the YouTube channel Coding Train? I haven't seen Coding Train. I'm very bad at actually watching programming stuff on the internet these days. I'm bad at it. I think I've started mostly watching like motorcycles and cars and stuff like that. So we're gonna interpolate this to the height. So height, and we say set y of interpolation of t. We have the duration heart. We don't need that, so we say const y equals use drop animation, and we're gonna say that use drop animation is going to have a duration of, should we say 5 seconds, and a height of, let's do 200 for now, but we're gonna make this dynamic later on. So then this is going to render at y. Now let's see what happens. We should now get a bunch of hearts dropping down, but I think that this name needs to be unique, and that's going to be not working. Come on. Computer. Each child should have a key. Yes, it should. Key equals the index of this thing, and then we also need to say let's give it an index here, and we're going to use that in the drop animation as well. So we're going to say index, and here we're going to say drop animation minus $index, like that. So now we should be able to have more of them, and we can also here say index equals the index. Let's see if that works. Come on, you can do it, computer. Why are most of them not actually working? Oh, because they need to have a globally unique name. So let's see, let's call it an ID instead. So we're gonna say data.id is going to be our identifier. So data.id minus the current index. So the problem here is that our transition names have to be globally unique. Otherwise, it doesn't work. So we're gonna have ID, 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 and then this is going to be the ID, and our tween is also going to be a drop tween $ID. Right. So that is going to work better, but it's also going to kind of crash my computer, which is wonderful. Okay. It's also not dropping as many of them as I thought it would, because the transitions need a delay. Yeah, so the delay needs to be based on the index, and that's gonna make it work better. Right. So we've got these guys. Now let's add a ease d3 cubic in, ease cubic in out. That's gonna make it accelerate and then decelerate, and it's gonna look a little bit more natural. See, definitely looks better. And we also want the duration to be, instead of 5, let's make it 3 seconds, and then let's add a delay that is based on the index. So we're gonna also pass in the index after all. Index equals I, and we say duration height delay is index times, let's say, 10 milliseconds. So index, or let's give it 100 milliseconds of a delay. So the D3 transition duration delay is the delay. No, not on. I was typing the word delay. And we pass in delay here. So now we should see multiple of those hearts fall down. Yes, delay is not defined because I defined it just now. All right, computer, can you handle this? Okay, that looks cool. Cool. Now let's make them fill up. So we're gonna make this text font size small. Yes, font size is going to also come from use drop animation. So we're gonna say const font size equals set font size. Blood effect, that's not what I was going for at all. So we're gonna say the initial font size is going to be 3 points, and then it's going to, let's see, on end, we're gonna say set font size to let's say 10 for now, just so that we can see it work. So we've got that. Delay height, and here use drop animation. Instead of just returning y, it's going to return y and font size. Or do we want it to have a callback? That could be cool. Yeah, let's have an end callback. On end, it's going to call ended. Yeah, so it's gonna call ended, and we're gonna pass in ended as a on end. Let's call it on end, and we're gonna pass in on end. And here we're gonna say, let's pass the ID in the beginning, and then on end, we are going to have a function that's gonna update the font size. So we're gonna say set font size equals 10 here. And here we're going to say const font size set font size equals use state of 2. And we say here font size equals $, let's see, $font size pt. And let's see what happens. We should now have small hearts falling down that then get big when they reach the bottom. Cool. Now, here's the next thing we're gonna do is make it so that it looks like when they're falling down, they're filling up the heart at the bottom. How do we do that? We're gonna have to pass them all in at the same time. So we're gonna render hearts instead of hearts. Come on, hearts is going to be hearts equals hearts. Okay, now hearts is going to be a component here, const hearts equals component that gets the count of hearts and renders them. So return all of that stuff, same stuff as before. Come on, you know you can do this. You can handle it, computer. So where am I? So we're returning a, we need to get in a BID, that's the broadcast ID. So we have BID and BID equals data.id. So BID is going to, so this should now work exactly the same as before. except it's not. Oh, okay, it is actually. Cool. And now we're gonna make it so that on end is going to wow, okay, so this isn't quite working. So let's get a height here. We're gonna data.id, not, so we're going to pass in a height of 200, and here we're gonna have bid hearts height, and each of the hearts is going to get the target height as well. So height, and you'll see the reason why I'm doing this. It's because we're gonna have a fake heart rendered at the bottom. So we're gonna take this and we're gonna set the font size to 2 points permanently. So it's going to be 2 points, 2 points, and on end it's going to call on end. On end here, come on end, and then on end is going to here, let's see, on end is going to call the on end, let's call it heart size. Okay, target heart size, target heart size. And now here we say const target heart size equals a function that increases const heart size set heart size equals use state that starts with 0, heart count, let's call it heart count, set heart count, and let's just here on end we're going to say set heart count is heart count plus 1. So this is then going to, and then we gotta render the heart at the bottom. So we've got, come on computer, please work better. Okay. What are you complaining about, computer? All of this is legit code. Stop complaining. Okay, so at the very bottom we're then gonna render a heart emoji that covers everything else. So this is going to, if heart count is more than 0, then we render a text. Actually, then we just render a heart. No. Then we render a, come on, we render here a text with, oh come on, x equals 0, y equals height, text anchor equals middle, and we said dominant baseline is central. I feel like I should be moving this to a, you're importing, so Francis, I'm not importing D3 in its entirety. I have, well, I'm assuming that Create React App has tree shaking, so D3 gets automatically split up, which is pretty cool if you ask me. Okay, now this one is going to have a font size. Let's see, let's add a import styled from styled components. Yeah, you don't have to import D3 component by component because tree shaking should take care of that for you. So it automatically throws out the parts of D3 that you aren't actually using, and from what I can tell, it works pretty well. Okay, now we're going to say const centered text equals style.text, and I'm going to steal all of this stuff. We're gonna say text anchor middle and dominant baseline is central. I don't actually use D3 for work because I don't get the excuse to, but that's why I started this project of doing a monthly data visualization, because it's like it's a fun venue to self-expression and to play around with something fun, and it also helps me discover new techniques and work and do stuff. And yes, candy cane tree shaking works like that for Lodash as well, and I'm pretty sure most modern libraries support that. So we do centered text, and here we do centered text. We don't need this stuff anymore. Centered text, and we can do it here as well. Oh, come on. Computer, stop messing with me. Centered text, centered text. So Francis, what I'm building is this little visualization of my of all of my newsletters from this year. And the idea is, originally I wanted to do a really cool analysis of how long my people stay around, what makes them unsubscribe and stuff like that, but I wasn't able to find all of the data. So now what I'm doing is a simple timeline of emails going out and how many likes they receive, or just how much appreciation, like how much people appreciate them. And I'm hoping that there will be something interesting there. So it might not be the most interesting data analysis in the world, but it's going to be an interesting, I think, animation, and that is cool as well. So we've got this timeline of emails going out, and then they drop hearts based on how many likes they got. Okay, so centered text, and we then in the bottom we said we are rendering a heart with a font size. Let's see what happens if we say font size equals, we're gonna need to use some sort of scale, aren't we? Yeah, we are. So we're gonna say the heart size scale, let's see, heart scale of candy cane. It's actually Webpack tree shaking that does it. So we have heart scale of heart count, like that. Now we need to define the heart scale, which we're gonna get from heart scale is gonna come from props, and here we're gonna say heart scale. How can we get the entire heart scale? I know what we can do. We can just get the maximum count. We're gonna define it. I'm just gonna define it here. So we're gonna say const heart scale equals d3.scale linear dot domain will go from 0 to, I think the most is 50. That makes sense. And the range will be from 0 to, let's say, 15. So one thing I've been doing with D3 plus React is I just render an SVG and assign a ref to it, and inside the use effect I do all of my D3 logic there. I remember going through your book and you suggested a better way to do that. For example, in the bar chart you can render your map, SVG React elements inside in the render. So yes and no. I do still kind of suggest both. What was I gonna say? So I still suggest doing D3 black box components, where that's the use effect one, where you have a lot of code that does actual rendering with D3 that you don't want to change. Otherwise, I recommend doing the rendering with React and the data manipulation and the positional calculations with D3, if that makes sense. So kind of, I think I would have to see exactly what you're doing to have a better idea, but generally speaking, yes, I think I still recommend what you say you're doing. Now, why is the heart scale not scaling? Font size, oh, because I need to do it this way. So the heart scale PT. Let's see if that works. So the idea now is that the hearts are falling down and filling up a big heart at the bottom. But it's not working. Why isn't it working? Let's see. React. Connecting to React. Click here. Okay, give me the... Come on, text. Styled component, forwarded ref. Let's see. So that's the actual heart. Oh no, hearts. This one. Font size 0.3 pt. What? Okay, let's try console logging some of this stuff. Let's see. Console log. We're going to say heart count and then heart scale of heart count. What does it say? This is gonna print out a lot of stuff, but what I want to see is that heart count is actually getting better. We get a lot of zeros, and then I think I crashed my Brave window. Oh, sweet. I would love to see that, Francis. So heart count isn't increasing. Why is heart count... I haven't actually worked with D3 and TypeScript together before, at least not much. So I'm not entirely sure how much I can help there. Right now what I'm wondering is why heart count isn't increasing. So we are calling on end, we're passing in on end. Let's see, is on end actually executing? Console log and drop. Let's see, will that work? Come on, make the thing. Thanks, Francis. I will actually look at that a little bit later. I can't look at it right now because I'm trying to figure out why the hell this isn't working. So the on end is never called. Oh, and drop and drop. So end drop is being called, but it's not doing things. The idea was that end drop would... Yes, I'm happy I helped, Francis. So why is this not increasing the size of the heart count? And I think it's also falling into an infinite loop because things are weird. Okay, we're gonna try our own effect. Instead of looking at when these things ended, we're just gonna calculate when they end. So use drop animation on end, index times 100 is the delay. So if we know, let's see, come on computer, where are you? Okay, so we know delay is index times 100. Each drop takes duration. So let's add here a drop duration that we're passing in. Where is it? Heart drop duration. Let's drop duration. So duration is 3, drop duration. We pass it in so that we have more control. Each drop takes 3 seconds. so we can predict when they drop to bottom. And we're gonna do that. So I thought 1 to 2 years ago, I'm pretty sure it was already D3 V4. So maybe it was even before that. But yeah, the transition from, I'm not actually sure, when did D3 V4 come out? Was it 2 years ago now? So I'm going to, instead of have, come on, it's so hard to scroll around. So drop duration is going to be 3 seconds. So now we can say use effect, and we're gonna have timeouts. So we're gonna start the effect, and we're gonna go through D3 range, 0 to the number of hearts, for each. We're going to take the index, and we're gonna set a timeout. Set timeout, which will be yes. So set timeout, which will call set heart count to the index, which I think will work. We'll see if it works. And we're going to fire that after I times 100 plus I times plus 3000. Yes. So let's see if that works. I'm pretty sure it should, because it might not actually. It might take the latest index, but I think it's gonna work. I can't tell if it's doing anything. It does seem like some of the hearts are getting bigger, right? It does. Sweet. Okay. So right now this isn't working because my computer is slow, but I am pretty sure it actually works in, let's say the domain goes up to 30. Pretty sure this actually works in real life, but I can't test it because I am streaming. Let's see, scale linear. Why my computer is like this? Okay, so it's kind of working. Not really, everything is super behind. But they're growing and they look nice. Okay, so we've got that. Some of these are quite loved. What do you guys think? How does this look? This is the open rate, is the how big the envelope is, and then we have the drop down for those hearts. Doesn't actually look that great, does it? Okay, let's try a different one. I've got another 45 minutes for playing around. Yeah, that's right. Candy Cane, you're right. Almost everything is still D3 V3. I wonder why that is. So I'm not a fan of this one. So instead we're gonna make it so that they drop down to... Sure, Francis, what's up? What are you wondering about the cost of living in the Bay Area? Let's drop these all the way down instead. So I'm gonna make them build essentially a bar chart, and I think that's gonna be a little better. So we're gonna say that what are we gonna say? Yeah, the answer to everything is that it's expensive. So let's delete all of that, and instead of setting the hard count, we're gonna go like this, and we're gonna change the height to be height minus index times not 3 pixels. How big should they be? Let's call them, let's make 10 pixel, 12 pixel hearts. So they're going to be I times 12, where they're gonna drop down. Now here, we get the height from the thing, and we say height here, and let's see what happens. So they should now just magically build up, and we can make them 12 pixels big. Perfect. So we're gonna say 12 pixels big for the font size. And how will that work? Interesting. So that looks like a better. So how easy is it to get by in the Bay Area just by a mere 100,000? So let's see, for a pretty normal life, you're gonna spend, I think from what I've seen, like if you want to live a normal life where you're not cutting back too much, you can get by on about, you can live on about not cutting back too much on life and still being able to save. You need about $5,000. Let's say you need $4,500 per month for just living. So that's 4,500 times 12, and yeah, on $100,000 salary. So let's see, salary calculator for California, salary paycheck calculator. If you say that you're in California, gross pay is 101 to 3, and you're single and you get paid 100 times, let's see, calculate, pay frequency is bi-weekly usually, you will have, doesn't say, okay, free paycheck salary calculator, was that the same one? Okay, you are getting 100,000 per year, 1, 2, 3, so you get about unadjusted 100,000 take-home pay calculator, that's what I wanted. So if you get 100,000 per year and you're single, and let's say you don't put anything pre-tax, you have $78,000. So yes, you should be able to survive, you should be able to live pretty okay in the Bay Area on that. And if we said that it takes you about $4,500 a year to live, is this for California or not? I'm not sure if this is for California, but yeah, you should be on 100,000. That's before tax. So on 100,000 before tax, you should be able to. State tax is not defined. State tax rate. Let's look at state income tax. California is 13.3%. 13.3. I don't know if there are any any city taxes. There probably are. 100, 1 to 3. Calculate. You get that annually. 13.3%, and you're not putting anything pre-tax. Calculate. Yeah. So you should be able to live on that. We said 4,500 times 12 is how much? 54,000, and you get 67,000 after taxes. So calculator, 67 minus, we said 54. minus 54. So on $100,000, you should be able to save about, if you live kind of frugally, you should save almost, should be able to save almost $1,000 a month, plus afford all of your expenses, and everything should pretty much work out. So yeah, 100K, you're good. I mean, you might not, you're probably not going to be driving a Ferrari, but you should be okay. Okay, so we've got that. Now let's make the drops a little nicer. So instead of, where is my height? Height times, let's say times 10, so that they stack a bit more. There we go. Okay, let's stack them even more than that. Let's say 8. Cool. Okay, so that works pretty well, right? So we know which are the most popular emails. Actually, I don't like 8. Let's do 10 anyway, and let's drop them all the way down to height divided by 2. So here, when we say, yeah, there's a lot of elements to transition. So the broadcast has a height, which is also the vertical. Oh, we can actually say the height of each heart should be basically to the bottom here. So we can put in height as, instead of that, we can put in Y, and we know we can put in Y. We know we can put in Y because we know that that is the middle. But let's make it Y minus 10 to give it a bit of a buffer at the bottom. Cool. Yeah, you should definitely try to get above 150K. It's pretty doable these days from what I hear, especially at a larger company. Now, these guys have, let's give them a bit of a random, let's add some randomness to the delay so that it looks less plus math random times, let's say 50. So that way the drops are going to look a little less uniform and it's going to look better. Perfect. See how much better that looks right away? I mean, there's still a lot of elements that we're transitioning, but it looks nicer. Let's maybe make that a 75 millisecond random delay wobble something. So that's the thing. Let's add a title to that. So let's add a second heading. Yeah. Come on. Heading is X width divided by 2, and Y is going to be, what's the font size we set for headings is 1.5 EM. I don't know what that means, but let's put this to, excuse me. What if can we print 2 lines? Oh no, we can't, can we? Let's add that, let's say 75, and this heading is going to say the same thing, except it's going to be broadcast.subject. Broadcast.subject. Broadcasts of n-1 subject. Let's see if that works. So we should now get a second heading down here that will show us. Francis, I'm originally from Slovenia, if that tells you anything. Cool. All right. So that's this. And now let's see. Aha. I know what we're gonna do. Every time you mouse over one of them, it's going to change the main thing up here. And I think that's gonna look cool. man, I had a much grander vision in mind for how this is going to work, but yes, Slovenia was in fact part of former Yugoslavia. So I originally had a much cooler idea for how I wanted this visualization to turn out, but this will have to do for now because we spent a lot of time making it, getting the data actually. So now let's add an overlay. So here we're gonna say const current broadcast, and we're gonna say set current broadcast equals use state that is always let's use state that starts with an empty one, and then whenever n changes we can also say set current. No, we're not going to do that. So here we're going to say, let's start with null. Should we start with null? No, let's actually, can I just change it here if n changes? Let's say use state starts with null, and then we say set current. No, that's not going to work well at all, is it? Actually, we can try. Set current broadcast as broadcasts of n minus 1 if n is bigger than 0, then 1, then we do that. Otherwise we keep it at null. And let's see if that, using canvas as your SVG container. I have actually used canvas, and there is, if you look at too many renders, so we are causing an infinite loop. So if you look at my course/book, there is part of it that is actually, what was I gonna say? Part of it is stuff. Wow. Part of my book/course is actually using canvas. So I'm gonna use this current thing, and we're gonna change this to say metadata, and it's going to get the current broadcast. So it's going to either say broadcasts of n minus 1 or current broadcast. And Matteo, I have actually been to Croatia many times. When I was a kid, we used to always go for vacation there, as does everyone from Slovenia. So for metadata, we're going to actually start a new component. So we're going to say import React from React, and we say const metadata equals the current broadcast, and it returns what? So return metadata.js, and we say export default metadata. What are you complaining about? React mode, please. I hate it when my VS Code does this. Okay, so we get the width as well, and then all of these guys change to broadcast. Come on, broadcasts, and broadcast.subject, like that. So we've got that. Then we need to import asterisk as D3 from D3. We take that and we take the date format and the heading stuff. And we don't need the heading stuff here anymore because we don't use it. And now we should get back to the same state as before. Metadata not defined. So we need to say import metadata from /metadata. We get that thing. Come on. Styled is not defined. Right. So we get styled. Oh, I'm definitely using D3. Don't you worry. Let's see. Reload the page and it should look exactly the same as before. Oh, we need to pass in the width. Let's actually pass in the X. So we're going to say X, come on, X, X, X. And then here we pass in X, 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 X equals, what is X? X equals width divided by 2. Okay, reload the page. Come on, show me stuff. Seriously, computer. Now will you work? Any performance optimizations later. So I do have a really great performance optimization I'm going to do, and it's going to be, I'm going to stop streaming. And that's going to optimize the performance by a lot. So now wow, because I randomly typed in there, okay. Great. So now, what does this say? Notifications, stuff, okay. So we've got that working. Now the next thing I can do is when we mouse over these guys, I want to show which one is currently moused over. So on mouse over, we're going to say set broadcast, set current broadcast here, set current broadcast as broadcasts, oh, as just the data. Set current broadcast as D, and that should make it work. Let's see if it does. Too many re-renders, just reload the page. Oh, on mouse over, that needs to be a callback like this. Yes, streaming is causing the slowdown because if you look at my processor, it is very, very taxed right now. OBS and Node, for some reason, are using, and then Brave, they're all using a lot of my data or a lot of my CPU, so it's not able to really keep up. And now if I mouse over these guys, nothing seems to happen. Why? Oh, that's why. Let's see, is current broadcast actually getting defined? I'm gonna console log here. So console log current broadcast, and let's see, what does this fucker say now? By the way, when I write an article about this, what kind of article would you prefer? Should it be more of a tutorial style or more of an explanation of how this works and what the idea is behind it? Or like more of a story about the data set or more of a story about the findings from the data? Or do you think it should be more of a story, more of a tutorial style for how to build this? So let me know in the chat room because I'm still figuring out how all of this should work. Why is mouse over not doing things? On mouse over, come on. On mouse over, console log, hi, and the data. There we go. Let's see. Hi, data D. You mostly read Twitter stories, okay. How come you mostly read Twitter stories, Candy Cane? because I definitely can't fit an entire couple thousand word article into Twitter stories. Really, mouse over isn't even firing for any of this stuff? Oh, I know why. Because we need to actually pass that on mouse over into something. Okay, on mouse over broadcast, where are you? On mouse over here, we can say on mouse over. We're gonna put that on this grouping element, on mouse over. Come on mouse over equals on mouse over. Now will it work? We will see. Okay, let's see it parse. It's doing the thing. Okay, perfect. Yay. Okay, so let's actually switch this around. Here in the app.js, we're gonna say that current broadcast takes precedence over this broadcast, right? So over the last broadcast, if we mouse over something, we want that one to take precedence. So we've got all of that stuff. It's dropping down. There we go. See, and now I can mouse over all of this stuff and I can see what's happening. All right, now let's show them also the open rate and stuff. So broadcasts, let's here, broadcasts, let's say style cursor pointer. Wow, oh right, it's the Indian food that's making me burp. It's quite frustrating. Okay, so for the metadata now, here, what else should we show? So we've got open rate data, we know how many unsubscribes there were. Should we show click rate? Indian food does that, doesn't it? We're gonna show a average rating. So let's see. This is going to be a text that is going to show up at x equals x and y equals 50, 75. Let's say this one is at 90, right? And it's going to say, let's see, it's going to have a heart emoji, heart, and we're going to count hearts. Yes, so this is going to be a heart ratio. Come on, heart ratio. Then we're going to show a open rate. What should it be for open? What makes the most sense as read? Let's say open. I'm just going to use that one. So that's going to be broadcast.open rate, was it? Math dot what's the number, what's the one that says trunk? No, math round. Oh, we can do math round broadcast open rate to 2 decimals. Then we're going to have a click rate. Let's take mouse cursor. Surely there's a cursor emoji, right? No, point. click, click, click. What looks like a click? I guess that makes sense. No. What would look like a click? Do I get more blog hits from email or from Twitter? From SEO, actually. That's where I get most of my blog hits. And it's also something that I am very bad at optimizing for. So that's going to be one of the things I have to work on, to be honest. So let's see. What would look like something like somebody is clicking? Click, open, interact. This one looks like a click. Okay, so we can say, actually let's look at our broadcast data. Broadcast.json. So we have click rate, so we have open rate, then we have the click rate, and we have the unsubscribes. Yep, click rate, open rate, total clicks, unsubscribes. So we have the heart ratio, the math round broadcast rate, then we say math round broadcast dot click rate, which is also going to be 2, and in the end we're gonna have what? The unsubscribes rate. Cry. That's going to be, oh, I need a so the unsubscribe rate is actually mostly dependent on how many people opened something. So we're going to say that the unsubscribe rate is a activity monitor, Telegram, Slack, OBS. Am I moving? I am moving, yay! So we're gonna get unsubscribes are 10 from open rate. Okay, so unsub rate. So this is going to be math round of unsub rate ratio 2. Let's see, now we need the heart ratio and the unsub ratio, right? So the heart ratio is going to be just the average score. I'm gonna take that from the hearts thingy. Where is it? Broadcasts, heart. Oh, it's in broadcast, isn't it? Broadcast, hearts. Where do we get the count of hearts? So these are our hearties. Now let's see, hearts are responses. How do we get responses? Responses. So hearts, responses, broadcast dot responses, and hearts are our so instead of filtering them, we're gonna do it like this. So const heart ratio equals hearts dot, no, oh come on, why did I delete that? I wanted to copy it. So command X, so we say const heart ratio equals hearts.filter.length divided by hearts.length. No, hearts.length. Why are you auto-completing weirdly VS Code? And why aren't you prettifying this stuff? Oh, that's prettified, okay. So that's the heart ratio. Then we need the unsub ratio, which is going to be const unsub ratio equals broadcast dot unsubscribes divided by broadcast dot open rate dot recipients times broadcast dot open rate divided by 100. Okay. Let's see what happens. Const responses cannot read responses of undefined. If broadcast is not defined, if no broadcast, then return null. Okay. It's mostly working. The unsub rate isn't working. And none of my math round are math round to number of decimals. Round to at most 2 decimal places, only if necessary. Math round num, no, not that one. There is a to fixed, there we go, that's what I wanted. Math to fixed 2. Unsub ratio to fixed of 2, and then we have the heart ratio, which also goes to fixed of 2, and then the open rate, which will also be to fixed of 2 dot to fixed of 2, like that. So we have likes, that many reads, and then we have that many clicks and unsubs. Okay, let's see if that makes it a little clearer. 9 likes, perfect. And this is going to be text anchor equals middle. So now why are hearts showing up as nans? So this should be percent likes and 0.01%. Do you time your 5K 10K time? Yes, I do, article. So the article that I get most likes from, let's see. We are about to find out. And we also need to move this a few pixels further down. And now I made it reload. Okay, now let's figure out. So yes, I do count my times. So if you go to strava.com/Swizzits, you should see me there. My profile. There we go. So that's me. Okay. I'm not actually sure what my 5K time is. It's been a long time since I ran that, but it's probably in the like 20-minute range. If I went for actually properly running it, it would be closer to probably like what was I gonna say? I don't remember what I was gonna say, but probably if I was actually racing a 5K, I could probably do it in like, yeah, 20 minutes. 20 minutes sounds about right. For 20 to 25 minutes, somewhere there. Now let's see why the hearts aren't working. Also, this needs even more line height. Let's put it to 100. Now, why are hearts not working? Heart ratio, length divided by hearts.length. Now let's console log the hearts and see what the hell is going on here. So that's gonna load. Hearts are always empty. Why are hearts always empty? does broadcast not have responses? It doesn't, because we need to do it here. Let's do what should we do? Let's just tie them together, because that makes the most sense. So here, instead of broadcasts, for each of the broadcasts that we create, we're going to add the responses. So D. Why do you hate running, Francis? I find it pretty good. Marathons are too long, so a marathon isn't super enjoyable, but it's okay. Why does reveal animation need? Okay, it just needs broadcasts length. We don't need responses. Don't need this. Okay, so we have broadcasts. Then here, when we get the responses, we're gonna go through all of them. Let's see, and let's do it here. Set broadcasts equals broadcasts.map of D. So we say blah 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 D, and then we get the responses like that. That's, I think, what we had before. Set broadcasts like that, and we're not gonna set them here at all. We're just gonna read the whole thing. Now let's see if that works. That would be great, but it doesn't. Where is it still doing effects.length? Responses.length here. Reload the page. Let's see if it works. Yay, it works. And now we get likes. 1% likes seems wrong. Okay, now let's see how many of these likes are. Yeah, so we console log this one. It has 30 likes. Most of them are numbers 0, 5, and so on. So when we say length divided by hearts.length, let's right, we need to multiply this by 100. So times 100, and then we're gonna get yes, I agree. Speed walking looks weird. So this one we're gonna actually math.round. Actually, let's put them all to fixed 0, shouldn't we? Because I think that's gonna look the most normal, except for unsub ratio, which is a very small number. Cool. What do you guys think? So now if you mouse over it, you see the likes and stuff. And for each of them, you can see how many opens they get and what kind of data there is. I think this is pretty good for the first in a series of monthly data visualizations. What do you guys think? I like it. Oh, we didn't end up adding sound, did we? But I ran out of time. I should really go to bed. Cool. Okay, that looks good enough to me. I'm gonna make, let's see here. Can we add more space? Let's see, does that add more space for me? Kind of. Yeah, I think you're right, Candy Cane. It's the titles that make it work a lot better. The actual visualization isn't. It's not super interesting, is it? But I like that most of them have very low unsubscribe rates. Okay, cool. I'm gonna say this is good enough for now. This is going to be the first in the monthly visualization series that I'm going to keep going for at least 6 months and then evaluate if it's working. And it's all going to be on a new blog on reactfordataviz.com. I'm gonna see if I'm gonna write an article for this tomorrow or maybe some other time this week, but if you're on my mailing list, it's going to be in your emails. Now, thanks everyone for watching, and I will see you again tomorrow evening when we're gonna be doing something completely different. Thanks, guys. Oh, let's deploy this. Status git commit git add dot git commit -m finished newsletter viz git push origin master. Then I can just run now, right? Let's see what happens if I run now. It should be smart enough to figure it out, but we will see if it is. Okay. Yeah. See you next time, guys. Thanks.